countries. And now we've contributed to the development of these distant learning modules, and we've got a number of students who've been through the program, and a number of tutors are actually managing and running these distant learning group activity. So that's been really good because people's unis now are offering accredited MPH, and therefore this gives access to students from developing countries, not just for the Sudan. Around organisation development, so we helped set up the Public Health Institute. So I myself was the deputy director. I spent 3 years there in the Sudan, and I'm contributing also to the ongoing CPD of staff in the institute through monthly Skype session workshops. So that's a planned program of teaching and learning over Skype. Leadership development is a particular skill that all specialists and trainees will need. So we've been running leadership development training courses for community medicine specialists. We've got a CPD framework in place for Sudan Medical Council, running some leadership development activity for public health trainees, and also for obs and gynae and for surgery. So these are translatable skills that many doctors and health professionals would benefit from, and we've particularly geared these around multidisciplinary team working. In the next slide, some of the training workshops that we've undertaken, and those are in our summer holidays when we're back home in Sudan. We run face-to-face sessions with our colleagues on topics that they choose. So in 2007, they've asked us to deliver something on effective partnerships, and then later we've been working with our colleagues around lessons learned from Rift Valley fever in 2008, national pandemic flu, swine flu experiences. So a lot of our work has been around epidemics, including last year's cholera epidemic. And as we know, right now in Kassala, we've got the chikungunya outbreak. So colleagues around the globe are really helping with that, not necessarily just ourselves from Sudan Health Consultancy.
But we'll start first by recognizing the achievements and hard work of Dr. Susie Neal. For those who do not know Susie Neal, she's a consultant urogynecologist and uroneurologist at University College Hospital and the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery in London. She started her career in the field of urogynecology in the early 1990s when she became involved with patients who suffered with vaginal fistulas and female mutilation in the developing world. Despite surgery, many of those ladies went on to suffer further problems with incontinence and chronic pelvic pain. And this formed the basis of her career that started with gynecology, went on to some specialization in the field of female pelvic medicine and reconstructive surgery. Susan's research interests led her on to do her PhD at the University of Cambridge to study the physiology and pharmacology of sensory bladder dysfunction in women. And at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery, Queen Square in London, she runs the neuromodulation program for bladder and pelvic floor dysfunction, which is used in patients in whom most other treatment modalities have failed. Over the last decade, Susie has developed the field of neuro-urogynecology, collaboration with colleagues in the United Kingdom, Europe, the States, Africa, and Asia. She's been awarded many grants for her work in sensory mechanisms in the bladder, mechanism of action studies in neuromodulation, the role of chemoneuromodulation in chronic pain states, obstetric fistula research, and female genital mutilation research.
The winner of the Healthcare Award is Sudan Al-Neal.
Yes, we work. I work with all women in under-resourced settings and looking at helping surgeons train to do better care for women, particularly with prolapse and incontinence, but equally with other problems such as obstetric trauma, female genital mutilation and so on. So working with women, really touching on the areas which are difficult to talk about. Hopefully making it an easy conversation.
With such hard conditions, just somebody like you would anybody would wrong. Thank you so much.
I don't think you can say any better than your patients and colleagues at work, Susie. Would you like to come up? Thank you very much. I think we all have to. The only obstetrician here today is going to be the one presenting.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Susie, would you like to say something? Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this wonderful award. It's been an interesting few years. We've been working in a field which is very difficult, and at the beginning we had a lot of resistance, and so you're working against a whole lot of issues. It did even impact on the work we could achieve and we could do. But actually, really, the strength came from the women. They were the ones who were doing the talking, they were the ones who were talking to the media, and that helped us raise the profile. And the award, I always say, I mean, I've had a fabulous year in a way. At the beginning of the year it was awful because I was put through hell by various systems and put through in various places, but then suddenly all these awards came through which were beautiful, and perhaps out of all the awards, having been born in Sudan, in Umdurman Hospital, so whoever's trained there, that's where I was born, having grown up there in Al-Abbasiyya, and having my father, many of you will know him, Professor Hamad Al-Nil. So Hamad Al-Nil was instigated, he's the one who started me on this path. I was always interested in surgery, but it was Dad who said to me, go forth and do something for women. Just focus on women. Women need more women surgeons, and you need to do something in that field. So the only thing I regret is he's not here to see this. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susie, and thanks for coming. And I'm sure we have to thank your better half as well for joining us.
and giving me the opportunity to do this work. He's been probably the greatest support in my life. Here, yeah, thank you very much.
Just sort of following on from that, just wanted to mention, people may remember.
Health workers are a really finite resource, and we need to be thinking about how we support them in their entirety. And that's why we spend a good proportion of our aid money on it, isn't it? Yeah. Yes? Again, you fell into my trap again. There we go. So, now those of you who are sat from about here backwards, this graph is going to make no sense to you whatsoever. So this is US aid spending in 2013. All the graphs look the same, so I just picked this one because it's the worst. This is the USD spent in aid. So this is total health, basic health, green and blue and red. Health policy administration got green there, but very, very basic health infrastructure was down in the purple. Health personnel development, which is effectively training, supporting, all the rest of it, that's the turquoise. And for those of you at the back, just so you're clear, that's the gap between the purple and the orange that you can't see, right? And then, rather brilliantly, infectious diseases appears in the orange. Why is that? There's a potential we could actually make it worse. So this is a picture I took from Myanmar. I'm on the colleges program in Myanmar. You'll notice that there are all sorts of things stuck to the wall here. It's quite hard to see, but at the bottom here you can see two different algorithms. They're both for neonatal resuscitation, but they're two different algorithms. One they got taught on one course, one they got taught on another course, and they stuck both of them up on the wall. And so what you could have is a situation that goes something like this. When do I pay? Which algorithm do we follow? Is it the one that we've got on the wall or the one that the trainer said? Oh, hang on a minute. When do I start in compressions? Wait, is it 15? Is it 30? Isn't this what we did on the course last week? Shouldn't we bag him now, or does that bit come later? And we get total confusion. And it really, really makes a difference. Now, we know that it doesn't make an enormous amount of difference whether you do 5 breaths or 3 breaths or whatever. But it really makes a difference if the nurses are doing one thing and the doctors are doing something else. And so the other thing that we've really tried to work on is, can we in our intervention make sure that we're adopting the local policies and practices of the places where we're working? So whether that's with the Myanmar Paediatric Society or the Rwandan Paediatric Association or the Sierra Leone Ministry of Health, can we make sure that our interventions absolutely correlate with what's being taught all the way through, so that we end up strengthening the health system rather than undercutting it? The other thing that we know, and we know this very clearly, is that distance really matters. That distance is really, really important. And so in our programs, what we think about is, where are the hospitals where the bulk of the paediatric work, where the bulk of healthcare need is, and generally that isn't in city centres. Generally it's in districts. You know, the tertiary centres tend to be able to look after themselves reasonably effectively. And we also know that in many countries there's an awful lot of work going on at community level. But there's this gap in between the two of the district hospital. And we see the district hospital as being part of an apex of health systems that's a really critical part of the health system.
Thanks very much, Max, for the interesting talk. My name is Saif Gadigar. I wonder if your program of RCP Global will be expanding to include other countries. And the reason I'm asking, we have an association here in the UK established 18 years ago, so-called British Sudanese Association of Pediatric and Child Health. We started with 30 members, now there are only 4. All the rest are working in Emirates and Qatar. We still have good links with the Pediatric Association of SAP, Sudanese Association of Pediatricians, and attending conferences and so on. And I know what's happening there from colleagues who I'm in contact with regularly. We have very enthusiastic colleagues who do have very good CPD programs, including neonatal resuscitation and APLS, all sorts of things. But the lack of the resources is demanding. Lots of doctors in pediatric neonatology and midwives and neonatal nurses were trained in these courses. But they go back to their hospitals and there is no AMBUBAC. And one of the things I discussed with my colleagues, we need to have what I call AMBUBAC campaign or Marshall or whatever. Because after they get trained, they go to the hospital and there is no AMBUBAC. So that's one of the things. So I'm quite happy to liaise with colleagues there to explore if you can expand your program, especially in neonatal care in Sudan. Thank you very much.
What has shown, this is the map of Sudan. Unfortunately, Sudan doesn't look as great as it used to be. It's a funny looking map now. But most of the population is in Khartoum. As you can see, that's where it's densely populated. It's dark. And this is the pyramid of Sudan. Sudan is, if you look up the population in the UK, it will be an inverted pyramid because there are more grown-ups and less children. But in Sudan, 40% of the population is below the age of 15. And that's why when they looked at the overall cancer in childhood, it counted for about 8% of all the cancer, which is, unlike in Europe and States, it's less than 1%. Why is that? For 2 reasons. One of them is that maybe our data is not robust. Second is that survival is, do you know what's the life expectancy of an adult in Sudan for a man?
55, 53.
Yeah, 57. 57 for a man. And for a woman? 62. So this is survival in Sudan, yes. Okay, so, and what's interesting, when we had a seminar, we had a symposium, which we've done in Sudan, and the unit in Sudan was saying that lung cancer is very rare in Sudan. It's very fascinating. Even our epidemiology are completely different from Europe. And this is the case. This is the lung cancer is very low. Whether it's underreported or not, but certainly is low. This is the impression people say. This chap, I have to say, called Allah Abu Idris, I don't know him, but he's done a fantastic work. And I looked up at least 3 publications he's written. He's from Jazeera. And this paper was in Tropical Doctor, published in 2008. And he looked at the childhood malignancy in Jazeera. Jazeera, they're doing a great job, I have to say. It's a small place, people working like in a family, and they're doing a great job. He looked up at the male to female, there was slightly higher incidence of male cancers. And the assumption is, I think, maybe right or wrongly, but I think a boy may be more precious to families, unfortunately, back home. And maybe they present earlier and they seek advice than for girls. Lymphoma was high, leukemia was high, and Wilms tumor. It's an operation which I do all the time. We're going to bring another publication for Abu Idris, which tells you the outcome of Wilms tumor, which is really, really upsetting, I have to say. Nasopharyngeal carcinoma is about 3%. And we know TB virus, which Professor Walker will tell you all about TB virus association with nasopharyngeal carcinoma. And this is him again, and this is very nice collaborative work he did with the Americans, with St. Jude Hospital, which is one of the leading hospitals in childhood malignancy. And what he found, again, it's a hospital-based. This is just a continuation of his work, and he looked up to 2015. And again, it's 7.5, nearly 8% of childhood malignancy. Male to female ratio higher. Leukemia, 1/3. Lymphoma, about, sorry, 1/4, and CNS 6%. And they're starting to approach the epidemiology in the UK and in Europe. Because the 1/4 is leukemia, lymphoma is obviously more prevalent because of, obviously, we know AB virus in Sudan and in Africa. But the CNS is 6%. In the UK, it's the second after leukemia. Why is the case? Because we don't have neurosurgical care in Sudan. I think it's the bottom line of it. You need a CT scan, you need an MRI scan, you need a neurosurgeon to diagnose and treat this. Unfortunately, this is very, very limited back home.
The Children's Cancer Leukemia Group is an organisation I've been part of for over 30 years. And it's a group of paediatricians who work as cancer specialists who initially met together in the 1970s to share the experiences and the challenge of looking after children with cancer, which is often they didn't know what to do, there was very little information, and they started doing research together, first of all sharing cases and developing series, and also sharing the emotional pressure of looking after desperately ill children and caring for their parents in the process. And that grew into quite a big organisation that got funding from cancer charities to do clinical trials and to develop basic translational research. And it's grown continuously over 40 years and is now the professional organisation that links children's cancer specialists together, has relationships with international similar organisations across Europe and globally, and have this group who are interested in overseas development countries to help disseminate the expertise and knowledge that we have. So I'm here representing them, saying this is something we can do together. And I think what we heard from the College of Paediatrics and Child Health just now is another arm of how help and energy and innovation could be worked together. Because what I want to do today is really respond to my visit with a suggestion of a strategy how we might go forward. So when we arrived, we were given a very nice welcome. We went for a sail on the Nile, which I think probably is a regular event for those people who go to Khartoum. We were able to see the blue and the white Nile merge. I was really excited by that. And we had this program at the end of the meeting. These are the things that Khalid put up. We felt, first of all, it had been a very positive experience, all these things, these meetings, the people we met. People were very positive. I was actually very excited by the very high standard of trainees and senior doctors and their very high level of knowledge. I felt I was working with people who I felt equivalent to in terms of their professional skills and knowledge. I didn't feel there was any deprivation or lack of awareness. I felt what they needed was organisation, and they needed to be helped to build the bridges that I am familiar of working with. And in thinking about that, we kind of came up with some steps, and one of them, I mean, Khalid presented the data, the epidemiology data, but I was looking at this last night and I found the paper, and I was very excited because I thought, well, I know they did it with the help of the American hospital, but the fact that they've published the cancer registration data. When we went to Jazeera, the man who was working on that presented the data to us, and I knew that that was going to drive change. We often think that politics drives change, but actually politics can only work if you have accurate data, because the data becomes the driving force. You need to have the step between politics and data that is the personal stories. And it's what's been found in World Health and World Cancer organizations at developing countries that personal stories make a huge difference to the politicians who have to say yes to your proposal. So media and awareness and data and professional commitment and consensus are the three elements that you need to promote if this is going to happen.